it took more trauma
Mm.
and hurt and pain and sadness and grief for me to finally accept it. I've been through a marriage, I lost a child, went through a divorce, my career, it made a drastic change due to a surgery gone wrong. I was in the hospital for a long time, and it took longer for me to get back to work, so I ended up losing my job, and I had to figure out a lot of things. And that's when it's like around that time, it was like they were pushing me. Spirit was pushing me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, lead you in the direction that you're supposed to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you went to school. Yes, you gained knowledge on that career, but we need you here.
Brittany Ann, welcome to the Life with Grief podcast. I'm very, very happy to have you. We had a beautiful conversation together prior to recording today, and I've really been looking forward to this. It is so clear that you have a really wonderful gift and have helped so many people in your time doing this work. And so I would love to just start off with you telling us a little bit about how you came to realize that you had this gift of mediumship. I want to make sure I'm wording all of that correctly, so I will let you sort of tell your story. But I always just find this so interesting because I've spoken with mediums that have said I knew from a very early age. I was sort of, very lack of a better term, born with this. But then there were other mediums I've met that they were like, I really sort of didn't have this until something happened to me and later in life, or there was an accident or something. And I just find it, very interesting, how you realize that you have this. So I'd love to hand it off to you.
Yes, so I recognized it at a very young age due to seeing a lot of spirits. I was too young to understand it at that time.
Wow.
So it was certain things that I would tell them or say to them that would be past, like years prior to me being born, or, I would say certain things. I mentioned certain vehicles and certain situations to them, and I was too young to know, and things that was going on, things I would see. And so as around the age of 7, 8-ish. But yeah, so around that age, I realized, hey, these are spirits. A lot of spirits that I didn't know, but I eventually end up finding out who is who. Not everyone, everywhere. Whether it was at home, at the stores, at school, like. And a lot of times I would keep things to myself because when I have mentioned it sometimes, but I'm going back like when I was around that age,
Yeah.
when I mentioned it, the only person that really understood me was my mom. Well, my
Mm.
dad too, but my mom, she also had the gift of seeing. So she would
Wow.
pick up on a lot of things, but she always told me that, well, she ended up breaking it down to me at a later age, 12 years old, of uh how strong mine is. And it's stronger than hers, and I shouldn't be afraid of it, embrace it.
Yeah.
So I've encountered a lot of different spirits. I noticed my grandfather used to come around me quite a bit, and still do. I actually never met him in the physical. I never
Okay.
met him. I found out later on in life that that was my grandfather. I didn't even know. I just
Wow.
knew this man would just come around all the time, and he was just so peaceful. Like, I would feel calm. And like, I noticed it was times like when I would be afraid, he would pop up. And it was like it was a calming spirit, and I would just feel relaxed. I would feel calm. But I did not know who he was. And I used to
Oh my gosh.
I remember seeing him in this like army uniform. So when I grew up, he came to me and he said something to me. So I was actually at my home, and I called my parents and I said, "Who is this man?"
To
He
get to the
said,
bottom of this.
"Yeah,"
My God.
because he finally said a name, prior to that, he would never say anything. He would just come around, he would smile, and he'd just be there. But I would feel his presence, and his presence always felt calming. But
Yeah.
this particular time, he gave me a name. He came closer, he was so close where I can just like touch his face. And I just was like, okay, who is this man? So I called my parents, and that's when gave complete description of what I seen, how he looked, the name, and my mom is the one who answered the phone, and she said, "That sound like your grandfather,
Oh my
either
god.
your great, either your great grandfather or your grandfather from your dad's side." Because my
Oh,
dad lost his dad, and he was a little boy, so my dad never, so that's how I never even met my grandfather.
okay.
So yeah, my dad said, "Hey, that do sound like I have a picture. When you come, I'm going to show you this picture, and you let me know which is him. Which one did you see? Which one? Yeah, which one did you see?" So
Okay.
when I came by, and I he showed me the picture, and I pointed out it was like a group of guys, and they was all in army uniforms.
Wow.
And he asked me which guy did I see, and I pointed directly to him. And yeah, his mouth dropped
This reminds
like
me of a
that.
lineup.
Just like that, his mouth dropped. And he was just like,
Crazy.
"That's your grandfather. That's your grandfather."
Of
He
all
was like,
the
"That's my dad. That's my daddy."
wow.
So, but yeah, that experience was just amazing. But that was like when I got older. Uh, it As far as accepting and like really embracing this, it didn't it definitely didn't start at a young age. I was
Okay.
always fearful at a young age. I was always fearful of the spirits, and also fearful of what others think of me. Always wondered, how would they, they're gonna look at me like I'm crazy. They're gonna
Yeah.
think I'm crazy. And it took a traumatic situation to happen
Mhm.
in my 20s. It took something traumatic to happen for me to finally say, okay, okay, I accept this. What do you want me to do?
What you got for
Because
me?
yeah, because I felt like I was being haunted. Like it
That's
was
scary.
this, yeah, this particular situation that happened, and I had several situations, but this one stood out more because it was very traumatic. Something happened to someone, and I've foreseen it. I seen it before it happened, and I was afraid to reach out to this person, so I didn't. So the next day, I got the same vision, same exact vision, same detail, everything from location to what was being worn, just everything. So
Wow.
I was at this point when it came back to me the second time and very detailed, just like the first, I said, okay, no, I need to reach out. And I don't care what this person think. I don't
Mhm.
care. I'm just going to reach out. And when I was about to reach out, it was too late.
Oh my god.
So I was really out. I was so hurt. I was beating myself up so much. I screamed. And I was at my parents at this time, and when I screamed, my dad heard me. And he was like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I was just crying hysterically like, "No, it's my fault." Like I felt like it was my fault. I know it's not
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
but at that time,
You're like,
especially the growth
I
that I
could have
had to
prevented
go through.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was just like, it's my fault. I should have told him. I should have told him. And my dad had to, calm me down and explain to me, no, baby, it's not your fault. You just have the gift. You were able to see it, but that it's not your fault. Whether you told him or not, it could have still happened.
Mhm.
So
Mm,
it was like, okay, okay, okay. But I still was crying like a lot.
of
So
course. Yeah.
one day, was it that it was that day I ended up taking a ride, and while I was driving, it was pouring down. It started pouring down. It was raining so hard. And it happened out the blue, one of those rains. So I'm driving, and it just started raining hysterically. And I'm crying, still crying. And I'm just like, I just started praying and I said, you know what? I got to pull over. I pulled over and I started praying and I was just talking to God and just, expressing how I felt about the situation. And I was like, you know what? I get it. I feel like, okay, now is the time for me to accept. I accept. And I just basically lift my hands up, surrender to the
You
situation.
surrender. Yeah.
And I promise you, the sun came out. The rain went away. When I say the sun was beaming,
Oh my
it
god.
was beaming. It was like I felt like at that moment, present moment, God was just like, "Okay, you get it.
You get it, right? Like, yeah.
You
This is
get it."
what more
And
do you
I
need?
yes.
My god.
So my tears literally, and I'm actually feeling it right now, like, but my tears literally at that moment turned into a smile, just like now,
Oh,
like how I feel right now. It felt good because
yeah.
I was like, dang, that's all I had to do was finally accept. So from that point on, I didn't fully get into like I it took more trauma
Mm,
and hurt and pain and sadness and grief
yeah.
for me to finally accept it. I I've been through a marriage, I lost a child, went through a divorce, my career, it made a drastic change due to a surgery gone wrong. I was in the hospital for a long time and it took longer for me to get back to work, so I ended up losing my job and I had to figure out a lot of things. And that's when it's like around that time, it was like they were pushing me. Spirit was pushing me.
Mhm,
Like, we need you in the direction that you're supposed to be in.
mhm.
Yes, you went to school. Yes, you gained knowledge on that career, but we need you here.
Yeah,
So I
this is
feel like all those changes needed to happen to get me where I am today, which is helping so many around the world. Because prior, I was more focused on my career, focused
mhm,
on my family, focused on my children. I wasn't focusing on, helping others with my gift. That was like it was just more of, if things come to me, I would reach out to someone and tell them,
mhm.
but I didn't push it more how I was guided to at that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of hurt and pain I had to endure in order to
Wow.
get me where I am today. I feel like the year of 2018, that was the year where it was like boom, 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 just so much happening. And it pushed me more into my faith, more into my spiritual belief. Like, it just pushed me closer to God, to be honest. Like, I
Yeah.
was very close to God, but I feel like, I was going to church and everything, but it's different now.
Mhm.
Right now, it's like, oh, we locked in.
Your
So it's
besties.
yeah, it's different. You hear
Oh.
me every time. I hear him every time. Like, I hear spirit all the time. So now that I have done a lot of like healing
Mm.
from hurts, pain that I endured, even since I was younger, it's a lot of things that I have went through, and I feel like someone with my kind of gift, we may, I don't feel like I'm the only one that had to go through a lot of trauma and
Yeah.
pain.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like it's needed. It's needed. I don't regret nothing I've been through.
Wow.
Nothing. Nothing. And when I say during those times, it was hurtful. It was so hurtful where, it's the why. Why me? You
Yes.
know?
Yes.
And now it's like, why not? I have
Oh,
the
that is so powerful.
I have the strength. And the strength starts here.
Yeah.
So I had to, just overcome everything with mind over the problem.
Yeah.
Over So once I did, I feel like nothing, nothing can bring me to a low point where I feel like just giving up. Like all the things that
Mhm.
I've been through, it's like, come on, what else?
Yeah. What else you got for me? Yeah, like
Yeah,
nothing could be as bad as
yeah,
that. It's kind of the
yeah. So
thing.
every time something hurtful or, not saying I don't hurt no
Yeah.
more. Like I'm not hurt from the things I have already healed from. No.
Yeah,
But when things come to me, yeah, I still have feelings.
of
I
course.
still
Yeah.
feel that hurt. But the
Mhm.
beauty of it now, I get over it a lot quicker.
Sure.
I know how to heal it. I know how to, remove that energy and
Mhm.
focus more on the positivity. So that's the difference. That's the difference. But it's so strong now where not only because yes, I'm a medium, but I'm also clairvoyant. You could call it's so many different names.
Mhm.
Clairvoyant, some people call it psychic, some people call it prophet, some people call it's different names, but I
Yeah.
just know I can see, hear, taste, feel, and speak to the spirits like
Um,
directly. And sometimes when I get messages and they come to me, they may just talk to me. And sometimes they actually visually show me them.
okay.
And sometimes they give me messages where symbols and, numbers and letters and names and stuff. Sometimes they give me things like that, and I notice and like when I give messages to people, by the ending of their message, they can put the clues together. Like they have a better understanding of what I said in the beginning because sometimes something may come out and I don't
That
know what
happened in
that
our conversation
is.
too. I remember
Oh, really?
you brought up one of, like, my it was, like, someone named Sherry, or it was, like, Sharon or Sherry or something. I was like, "Who the hell is that?" And then I remembered it was, like, my mom's aunt who had died, which I was like, "Okay, that's I just, it's not that I didn't know her, I just didn't know her well,
Yeah, yeah. Just
second.
at that
But
moment,
yeah.
and it happens like that all the time. But
Oh, I'm
one
sure.
thing about it, I never doubt myself.
Yeah.
I've learned to not doubt myself because I
Mhm.
used to feel like many years ago, I used to feel like, dang, what if I'm wrong? What
Yeah.
they don't know what maybe what I'm saying is not right. No, me and Spirit
Yeah.
done had a long conversation. They're like, no, we're giving you
Yeah.
what it is.
Exactly
Let
what
them
you
do the
said.
work.
Let
Let
them
them do the work. And
Yeah.
they're gonna find out because normally it'll either just come to you or a relative, something is going to connect where you like, oh,
Yeah.
and it always worked like that. That's why I tell people, even if during that time of me providing messages and you don't know it right then, more than likely you're gonna come back to me later to
Right.
tell me I know now.
Mhm.
And I have never had a situation where someone did not know. So
Yeah.
it's different for everyone. So sometimes it may all make sense right then in that session where they know by the time I finish the session with them and they say, hey, I know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
And then sometimes it may be days later,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the next day, or soon as we hang up.
Of
Soon
course.
as we hang up,
Why
so
wouldn't it happen that way?
yeah,
I'm glad you touched on this because this was so I definitely wanna kinda get back to a little bit of the grief you talked about, but this was one of my main questions for you, and I think is something that people are it like, most wanting to know, if not wanting to know, like, the most is how you receive these messages. What? Because I think for a lot of us, I like to think, and I would love your opinion on this too, like, I think all of us have the ability to kind of, like, tap in. We're all we can all connect, but I think
yes,
it's very clear some of us have different levels of it, and
yes,
I've talked to people and other mediums where they're like, "Yeah, you can kinda train yourself, you can, work on it to sort of, like, build on it," but it's very clear that, like, for example, just to compare for, like, a second, your gift and the abilities that you have are not even remotely close to what I can do. So I think it's hard for some of us who, let's just say, aren't there or aren't there yet to understand, like, Like, how? Right? What is that like? And I think a lot of us get stuck in the tangible, right? Like, if we can't see or hear or taste or smell or whatever, like that it's hard to visualize. It's hard to understand the how behind it. So, you already touched on this and I'm so glad you brought this up. So, just to clarify a little further, so you, for example, if someone's loved one is coming through, right? Do you is it more of like a you, like, close your eyes and you can kind of see them type situation, or you could, like and I don't wanna misinterpret what you said earlier, but it almost sounds like you can literally kinda see someone in front of you, like a literal
Yes,
figure, is that correct?
yes, yes,
That's
yes,
crazy.
absolutely.
That especially
So
younger person as when you were younger, that has to be a little
yes,
scary.
it was scary. It was
Oh my
very
god.
scary.
Especially
It was
people you don't
very
know,
scary.
right? Where
Yes,
you
yes,
didn't know what your grandfather
and
looked like yet, so it's just like, "Who is
yes,
this
and
stranger?"
I've seen some disturbing things too.
Oh, I'm sure.
So
Oh gosh.
yeah, so I was scared. I didn't understand. I would always run to my mommy and tell her, but
Yeah,
I used to be scared. I used to be
sure.
scared, but n- growing up, and then also I felt a connection with the movie. That movie is very close to what I've experienced. I see dead people. Remember?
Oh, is that The Shining? Hold on, what movie is that? I
No,
can
not
Google that really quick, but anyway, so it's literally it's like that type
yeah.
of thing?
It's very, very, very similar,
Yeah,
and
The Sixth Sense,
yes,
that was
the
yeah, I was like,
sixth.
it was on the tip of my tongue,
Yep.
yes. Well, there you
Oh
go, you
yeah.
have that, I
So when
guess.
it's so similar to that, and it's so similar to the point where, uh, remember how once he realized why they were coming to him, it was
Mhm.
because they needed his help. That's what it is. And
Wow.
once I stopped running, they would stop hunting me. So it was
Ooh,
like, yeah, because they would keep coming. I used to be so scared, and
that's
a little girl,
intense.
I used to always just put my covers over my face or sleep
Yeah.
outside the door, or like I used to be so fearful. But I realized, growing up, once I did my deed,
Mhm. They left you
then
alone,
leave
kinda.
me alone.
Yeah. A
All
follow-up
I
question,
wanted
so
was
then
to either call someone, tell them something, or do something. Like, it was never nothing bad or negative. It was
yeah,
always like, I just need you, because I was the messenger. So
yeah,
they knew to come to me to give this message. But at a young age, I didn't understand.
of course, yeah. So speaking of, like, messages and the hearing, because I also think the hearing part is so fascinating. Like, for me, if I'm any of the clairs, if you will, I think it's just this clair cognizance, I guess, right? Like, just the kind of knowing. Like, there's some things where I just feel like, if I've strength in any of them, it's that one. But the clair audience is always so fascinating to me. So and also what you I think is so beautiful, you were just speaking like you and God, right? Like your relationship with him and just like so this might sound like a really silly question, but for those of us again who are we don't know, does it literally sound like a voice or like how does that manifest
Okay.
for you?
So, yes, it do sound like a voice, but sometimes, so
Really hard to
it,
explain.
yeah, because it's so many that's trying to get through.
Okay, yeah.
And
I've heard that.
sometimes, like, make out I have to bring clarity to what is being said, because it's like so many talking at once. Yeah, yeah, it's just like a lot talking at once, but not all the time. But sometimes it's like that where it's hard to make out, and I'm trying to make out.
Okay.
Now, once I make out or I try to figure it out, I will say it, and they will let me know, or they will say, "No, no, no." They'll say
Okay.
no. So
Yeah.
they'll repeat it, keep repeating it until I get it. And
Wow.
once I get it, then they won't keep repeating it. And that's also my confirmation of knowing, okay, that's what they're saying.
Got the right
But
person. Yeah.
sometimes it's super clear. It's just like you and I talking. I can hear them directly. And sometimes they sound far away,
Mm.
and I have to try to make out what they're saying. And I would even ask, "Come closer so I can hear you better." And
Yeah.
sometimes, yes. And also, I want to bring back on how you said when I see them. Yes, I see them. A lot of times, I see them just like you and I. But
Mhm.
then sometimes they won't show their face, they would just speak. So,
Okay.
yeah, so they have, if they want to show themselves, they will. And
Right.
then sometimes they don't.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's how that works. But yeah, it's very clear, but sometimes they may just show uh like it's hard to see detail of their face,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I can like make out like what they're wearing, how their body is, or their hair, but
Yeah.
I can't picture or like find their like see their face directly. But
Mhm.
that's very slim. But
Mhm.
most of the time, it's clear. If they show themselves, they show themselves.
Wow. It also sounds like their personalities have maybe a little something to do with that. Do you notice that?
Yeah,
Like where there's more boisterous personalities or like coming up to the
yeah.
front, that would be my mother. Whereas like my dad would hang back a little bit, let her talk, let her do her thing, and then and he'll
Oh
come
yeah,
through.
that would come through. That would come through, and that
Yeah.
that also connect with whoever I'm speaking to because they would know their relative.
Yeah.
I'm just delivering a message, so I'm just
Yep.
telling you what I'm getting and how I'm feeling and what they're saying, and they say, "Oh, I know who that is, who that is," or if they say their name, they would say, "Yep, that is definitely them,"
Wow.
because that is how they are. So yeah.
Yeah. That's your confirmation. I want to talk because you touched on like signs and symbols and things. And from what I've just heard through many mediums and things is like everyone kind of has their own what do I want to say, vocabulary, if you will, like their own, maybe there are some kind of like quote universal things, but like each one might have a different interpretation of something, right? So are there some that you have, or like how do you feel like that kind of works for you in terms of like things that, loved ones might show you that you can then communicate to a loved one to kind of make that connection?
It's quite a bit. I know what you're saying. It's quite a bit, but
Yeah,
I
I'm
can't like pinpoint them like right now. It's
okay.
just like when I'm in it, I know.
Yeah.
But like the signs and symbols, a lot of that come through with my drawings. Like when I'm
Oh,
writing, because I keep a pen and paper too. So while I'm talking to you, for instance, I'm talking to you, certain things may come out on a paper, and then I may not mention it because it may
mhm.
have drawn into something. And then once I'm finished, or if I look down every so often and it point, mention it to you, and
Yeah.
you would recognize what it is,
Right, but
you
you
know?
might not know, like,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
for you,
Yeah.
right? You're the conduit
Yeah.
here. Okay, makes sense. Yeah. Before we get into again, I wanted to definitely come back to just a little bit of your journey of grief, not in great detail. I only want you to share what you're comfortable with, but I would love to maybe finish there. But one other question I had for you was with, because it's clear that you help people around the world. And so can you like recall some of I remember us talking about this actually. I'll interrupt myself really quick. And like I imagine that mediums, you guys take on so much and you cannot remember every session or every and you probably shouldn't, right? Like that is
Yes.
so
Just
much
like
for you
I
to
didn't
carry.
remember you
You gotta
until you just said
yeah.
it.
Gotta cleanse, right? So, completely understandably so, but are what do people normally come to you for? Is it often to connect with loved ones? And then what do you typically again, not getting into specifics, but just, people coming in, do you get a lot of people that are, I'm gonna say this so just very surface level, like, are mostly, like, believers? Do you get some people that are maybe a little skeptical, but are still kind of intrigued? And then just how do you see them kind of feel, coming out of a session? Because there might be people here listening that are like, I don't believe. I just my husband, frankly, he's a bit of a skeptic, honestly. I obviously am like so for it.
Yeah.
I totally am here for it. But yeah, I was just curious, like the types of, people that you work with and just sort of I'm sure it's like a bit of a transformation that you might
Yeah.
see.
I dealt with them all. I dealt with I dealt with skeptics. I dealt with some that uh they were fearful, didn't know
Mhm.
like, you know, Okay, let's speak on those first. Okay, so the
Yeah, yeah.
fearful, they were fearful because they didn't know, like, from what they hear, they don't know who I'm speaking to, if it's
Mhm,
evil, if it's bad. And once we go through their session, I could express to them, look, I believe in God.
mhm.
And I pray every day, several times a day, many
Yeah.
times a day.
You're like, "Don't we have a great
Yeah,
relationship."
and I'm pretty sure my God is not allowing
No, no
negative
bad
people
energy.
around me. Yeah, so
Yeah.
and then once we go through the session and they feel my energy, they recognize, this is not, and then after the reading, they end up telling me, I'm not fearful anymore. You actually brought
Aw.
peace to my
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
So that is the most, I just love it. I love that feeling
Mhm.
of knowing that I bring peace to someone's life,
Yeah. That's why I go to mediums, honestly, I do. I wouldn't even say
Yeah,
that frequently, but it's why, because I have had some of the most cathartic, healing, peaceful experiences during some of these, and just a validation, and because I understand why people are skeptical, or they think, and there are
yeah,
probably a lot of quacks out there, honestly, there probably are. I know there are. So
absolutely.
it's definitely finding a good one, right? As someone who knows what they're doing and is reputable and all the things. But and of
Yeah,
course everyone has their opinions on it, but, like, for me, truly, it has been very healing because there are specific examples, and it's evidential, right? And it's things that they could not find on my Instagram, or whatever. And
and
so
that's another thing I always tell
yeah.
people, you don't share nothing with
Right, right.
other than, like, if you're trying to speak to someone in particular
Yeah.
and due to a medium session, yeah, you
Mhm.
can provide me their first name. You
Yeah.
don't even have to, you can give me, if you want to give me their nickname, but more than likely in that session, if you provide me their real name, they're going to tell me their nickname.
You're gonna
And
get
then
it.
yeah, or you give me the nickname, they may tell me their real name, something like that, or you would know I'm speaking to whoever it is because they're
Mhm.
going to share things with you only you know.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell people you don't have to share anything with me.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I have dealt with skeptics, and I would say those are the I love skeptics. I would say I
Yeah.
would only because I know what I'm providing you is the
You know your
truth.
truth. Yeah.
So I love it because I have turned a lot of skeptics into believers. And now they believe, I have some that left, great feedback, and even mentioned that they are a skeptic. They were a
Yeah.
skeptic. So I put that where the world can see that as well. But yeah, it's different kinds, but I love the fact that this actually help people,
Yeah.
and that's that I'm all for it. I'm all for helping. That
Mhm.
does something to me.
Mhm.
If I'm not helping you, I'm not doing something right.
Right.
So that's how I feel.
Yeah.
So once I'm finished, and the awesome feedback, that really bring happy tears.
Yeah.
I actually cried of joy many times
Mm-mm.
because of the great feedback. And like I said, the peace
Yeah.
that I bring to people's lives is amazing. That level of comfortability, like, people are comfortable with me now,
Yeah.
and they come, they return back when they want to get another session or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's the difference, versus the first session. Because, of course, the first session is that fear,
Yeah.
but then it end up becoming, more relaxed. They feel
Yeah.
better. But yeah,
Yeah, a little
I,
weight
I,
lifted off, I
yeah,
felt.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. Oh my gosh, my first mediumship session, which was maybe 2 weeks or less after my mom died, that my poor mother, I barely let her have any time.
I have to say, I would have come
I
back
know.
later.
I should well, to this poor
Learn
medium, she
that though.
didn't
I
know
had to
that.
learn that.
Yeah, she didn't know it had been so soon. She said she ended up saying the same thing. She was just like, "Probably would've waited." No, and it wasn't, I'll be so honest, it was nothing that the medium did wrong. It was not the most healing experience, because I don't think, my mom, she passed from cancer. She didn't wanna die, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think she was at peace with that yet, so to speak, and so it was, but I couldn't selfishly, I couldn't imagine not talking to my mom ever again. There was, and so I'm not gonna say there was no peace coming out of that, like, I felt that I connected with my mom, but it was just clear, like, I should have given that poor woman some more time, but then, like, every session after that, and then especially when my once my dad died and they are, reunited and things like that, it's just been better and better, and I'm more comfortable with it all, so, yeah, I think for anyone here listening who's maybe iffy on it, wanting to give it a shot, but a little scared, like, for whatever reason there might be fear. One of my best friends lost her dad, and she's still never been to a medium because I'd actually love your opinion on this. She's just to, like, disrupt him, if that makes sense. She doesn't want to, if that makes any sense, like, she just
I
doesn't want
get it. I get
him.
it because she's in a world thinking.
Yeah.
See, like, she don't wanna disrupt them because a lot of us human beings say, "Oh, they're at peace. Leave them at peace." No,
Yes.
they want to talk to us.
Yeah, yeah.
They they when I tell you, they be so excited to speak, to actually they be so, and I love the fact that they actually thank me as well
Mhm.
for being that vessel, because they like, wow, finally.
Yeah.
And it's been times where the spirits would say they actually sent that person to me. Like, it's a random stranger, random
Mhm.
person. They end up guiding that person to me, and they be so happy. When I tell you, spirits, I promise, she would be super, she would be glad that she did,
Yeah.
because
I think so too.
I have never encountered a spirit that was mad or upset that we want to speak to them, so
Yeah.
no, they would. But it's normal for her to think that way. It's definitely
Mhm.
normal for her to think that way. She just got to step out the box,
Yeah.
and then she would definitely, I personally know she would be happy that
Yeah.
she did.
Yeah. It's definitely something, everyone has to, I think, do when they're ready and feel good about it and feel in alignment with, okay, now's the time. I'm ready and open to receive those messages. You know what I mean? So I think, yeah, she maybe just has to
Yeah.
like get to that place. But
Yes.
but at the same time, I tell her too, I'm like, if you're good with where things are now and feels safe and comfortable to you, then don't rock the boat. That's okay. Like, that's fine.
She
But
need
just
closure.
know.
It's gonna take, yeah, she gonna have to do it when she's ready. Yes.
Yeah.
But she do need closure. She need it.
Yeah.
It would bring peace to her mind.
Hmm.
But and that's
Yeah.
what I always tell people too. Whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
Whenever
Yeah.
you are ready.
Yeah, that's it's beautifully said, and the closure of what you just said is perfect, and, I don't wanna say, like, you have to go to a medium to find closure, but I will just say from my own personal experience and from, what I've heard from many people, it definitely helps with
Oh yeah.
finding some closure under like, that cliche knowing they're not in pain, which I knew my parents weren't, right? Like, they were out of bodies that failed them and were hurting them and whatever, so I never worried about that, you know? It was more just like, for me, it was just like, "Are you still there? Are we still connected?" Right? Because we feel like I definitely am of the belief, and I was from day one, but I think it took me a little while to get there, that tether, it does not break, it like, they're so much closer than we feel like they are. I feel. But we live in a very physical world. I think that's very hard for people to understand and cope with, and we're used to seeing these people in person, right? Hugging them, texting them, sleeping next to them, whatever. So, I think that, their lack of physical presence is, I think, the hardest part, if not one of, the hardest parts for
Yeah.
people. I think that's what's so beautiful about having a session is that, it doesn't make up for that, nothing can, but it just makes us feel like, "Oh, you're seeing what I'm doing." Every medium session I go to, my mother, it's like they bring up these conversations that are so random, right? But it's just proof, so to speak, that they are listening. They were in the car. They can like, you know what I'm like, "Oh,
Oh
you're like
yeah.
really."
It was something you said when you said they we can't talk like you said something about like I can't talk to them and I just want to
Yeah.
talk to them. And when you said that, it came to me like it's not that you can't talk to them. They're wanting to talk to you. They're
Yeah.
talking to you, but you can't hear them.
Mm.
But they could hear you all day
Yes.
long. You talking to them. They hear everything,
Yeah.
but they're talking and you're not hearing them. So
Yes. Good
when
clarification.
sessions like a medium session, they be super happy because it's like, yes, finally I could tell them
Yeah.
what I've been wanting to tell, what I've been telling them, but they couldn't hear me or they weren't paying attention to the signs.
Yeah. Great point.
Yes. Yes. So it's more of them that's wanting to like talk to us. Like,
Yeah, they're, like,
oh,
screaming from the rooftops, but
yes,
because, like, not in a way that we're used to hearing them
yes,
physically talking back and forth in a
yes.
body form, it's like that we feel like it's all totally gone, and I just
Yep.
I've come to believe it's not, right? And, yeah,
Yes.
so I love how you just worded that, they're like, "They're talking to us," so that's why
Uh-huh.
the signs, the symbols that a lot of us have, be it, like, certain birds. For me, like, coins are a big one, hummingbirds, there's, like, a lot of very cliche signs, but, like, then I have some other ones too, but that's how I also
It's our
know that if I can't, yeah, I'm just like, "Okay, I just got a
yeah,
little validation there today." So,
yep.
really quick, as we start to wrap up, as I mentioned, I what you said earlier, and I just wanna make sure I didn't skip over this because this was so poignant and powerful to me. You've clearly been through so much, and we don't, for the sake of time, don't need to unpack all of that today. But I wanted to acknowledge that. And first of all, just, I'm just so sorry the everything you have had to endure. But what was so profound to me was how you mentioned, well, like, kind of a couple things. Number one, that like, don't regret it, right? Like, there's nothing, no part of you that, like, kind of wishes any of that didn't happen, so to speak. And that it sounds like it's really led you to where you are now, right? And I think a lot of us, and so I'm talking specifically, of course, to grievers here, maybe people that are a little bit earlier on in that journey and can't see that right now, or don't believe that, or struggle with that, like, I even struggle with it, everything happens for a reason, expression now. But I would just love just a final perspective from you on that, because I think what you just said is so powerful, and it is something that I think people need to hear and understand. And I don't know, I would just love to hear from you on that, because that's just such a place of power and, like, empowerment that you're coming from in all of this. And you could easily sit there and say, "I wish none of that happened. That was too painful. That was too traumatic." But you're not. Like, here you are, like, standing and embodying, like, "Yep, that has happened to me. But I am not getting stuck there. That is not all of me, right? That's not all of who I am." And I just think that's incredible. So, if there's just any words that you would have out there for someone who is maybe struggling with that, I would just love to hear from you on that, just as someone who knows grief and has been through loss.
Yes. Trauma is a test
Mm.
of strength. So you have to look at the hard times, the struggles, the hurt, the pain as you being tested due to your strength. Are you strong enough to get through it? Are you? It's just like someone who is in the gym every day. They have a goal they're trying to get to, and they working hard. They go home, they hurt, their body hurt. They gotta soak. They gotta soak and massage their body, because all that you going through all that to
Yeah.
gain that goal. Your goal is coming out of the trauma. Your
Mhm.
goal is to stand up strong. Your goal is to say, I did it.
Mm.
And that trauma is just a voice to be heard later on. Someone else can be helped due to your trauma, the hurt, the pain. So the
Mm.
things that I have been through, I'm not the only one. And, I can help those who are currently going through what I've already experienced
Right.
and let them know, it's so many different things that I have encountered. I wouldn't even know where to begin right now, but
Yeah.
what I do know, and I will hope everyone will always look at it as a test.
Mm.
Are you willing to pass? Are you
Yeah.
going to give it your all to pass? You want to pass this test, right?
That's powerful. That is so powerful. And I love what you had mentioned just very briefly, like, what do you kind of want to gain? And I resonate with that because my brand, I always hate saying brand, but I have no better word for it. My community, what I originally started with all of my grief work is called Losses Become Gains. And which actually that name came during a mediumship reading, I'm just saying. And which I love, but for me, it's like the gains, it's whatever we want that to be, you know? So for some people, it is a gaining of strength, of perspective, of gratitude, of, whatever. And sometimes it is a more tangible thing. It's the changing of a job or an entire career, or it's, realizing and like tapping into their soul's purpose, which you so clearly have. And I definitely have been on my own journey with that. I'm still on it, but it's, kind of whatever we make of it, I like to think, but we are so in charge of that. And that is within our very capable hands. And we just have to get curious about that and lean into that. But it really does test us in so many ways. You nailed it with that. And the strength being one of them. And I 100% empathize with that. And when I was going through everything I did with my parents, it was like what we were saying earlier, where you're just like, kind of, what else you got for me? Can't get much worse than this. And then it did get worse. I was like, what what is going on here? But instead of being sort of a victim of that, so to speak, I like, we do have the choice to be like, "Okay, I can have my, like, pity party for 5 minutes, but, like, let me zoom out a little bit, and what is, like, the bigger picture here?" And not even necessarily, like, what is this trying to teach me per se, but, like, what is it that I'm gonna take away from this? And it might not be
More,
clear in the moment, but, just encouraging everyone to know that, like, can get there eventually, and then just following where we feel like we're led. And to bring it back to you, you are just such a wonderful example of being very clearly led. That story of you pulling over in the rain and then the sun coming out, that is gonna stay with me for a very long time.
yeah, it's still with me. I
I
always think of that.
That's like, yeah, top 3 moments of your life type situation, like, wow.
My brand is, I feel you on saying that, but like smell the roses,
Yeah.
like just with that and what I've encountered throughout life,
Mhm.
and just, the saying of like the rose growing from the concrete, you
Mhm.
know? And then like a part of my logo is rise above all. So, and my meaning behind that is rising above all, all the trauma, all the problems, and blooming into a rose.
Yeah,
So,
it's incredible.
a message for everyone,
Yeah.
rise above all.
Yep. I think that's a beautiful place to leave that today. I mean, what, like, mic drop, seriously, like, what? It's just, yeah, that is such a beautiful and empowering message, and I have certainly learned so much today. I always, like, think I, kinda have a good idea and, like, talking to different mediums here and there, but, like, I just love how each one is so unique, and you're all just incredible in your own way. So I am so grateful to you for coming on and sharing your everything, your childhood, your experiences, your traumas and everything. And you've
Yes,
just left listeners here with so much to take away today. So I'm truly so grateful for you.
I appreciate you.
Of course. Really quick before we sign
Yes,
off, where can everyone find you and connect with you or book a session if they want to work with you?
smelltheroses.net. www.smelltheroses. No, I'm sorry. Smell the Roses Oshun. OSHUN.net. Yep,
Perfect.
that's
And
my
I think
website. You can find me, find pretty much everything.
everything you
So
need.
yeah,
Well,
you can
awesome.
find me on social medias by Smell the Roses, Smell the Roses Oshun. So yes, but all that is on the website. How to book, different locations, and so much more of me. So yeah,
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That will all be linked in the show notes. Brittany, and thank you again so much for your time today. I appreciate it. I am sending you a huge thank you for tuning into today's episode, my friend. Visit lossesbecomegains.com for my blog, more coping tools, ways to work with me, and so much more. And be sure you're following along on Instagram and Facebook at Losses Become Gains, and on Instagram and TikTok at Life with Grief Podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and share this episode or this podcast with someone who could use it too. I'll catch you in the next episode.